Welcome to what is going to be one of the most exciting and different events that we've had in 5 years of the Malcolm Arnold Festival. I'm very thrilled and very delighted to draw your attention to a group of people on my left, on your right, who have all had an extraordinary experience in their lives, which is to say that they have been involved. They've been involved in the experience that was the St Trinian's films, and we're absolutely delighted and honoured that they've all managed to come and be with us this weekend. It's wonderful to see you. Curious enough, a little earlier this year, I was up in Edinburgh, actually adjudicating a competition there, and just happened to be talking about St Trinian's, because it was, this year has been virtually nothing else but St Trinian's on my mind in organising this event. So whoever I was with, I was talking about St Trinian's. Anyway, I was talking about St Trinian's, and this lady who was taking me around said, well, do you realise the original St Trinian school is in Edinburgh? And not only did I not realise the St Trinian school was in Edinburgh, I didn't even realise there was an original St Trinian school. But there is. There is a school in Edinburgh, and you're going to hear a little bit about it later. And I went to see it. And this was the school where Ronald Searle's sister went. And it was indeed a school for slightly unruly young ladies. And it really existed. It really existed. Anyway, we're going to have a wonderful afternoon. I want to introduce Alex Orchard Lisle, who's standing next to me, who's very much almost devised this on his own, and I've helped a tiny bit. So we're going to take you through this wonderful experience, and we're going to start just by having a look at what happened at the beginning. Oh, we've got a bit of over.
Shout to have the windows facing the street boarded up. The favour of an early reply. My felicitations, etc.
I was told you wished to see me with Fatima, sir.
Yes, I do. Will you sit down, please, both of you? Miss Henderson, first let me say that I've always been delighted with the way you've brought up my children. However, in a few years' time, Fatima will reach an age when... well, as you know, I've had to let the Americans build air bases here, and in the circumstances I thought it advisable for her to finish her schooling abroad.
I take it it's England you wish to send her to, sir?
It is. Since my racehorses are there, I shall be able to visit them and Fatima at the same time.
Have you any particular school in mind, Your Highness?
Well, I thought you might be able to advise me about that, Miss Anderson.
Well, of course, there are many excellent schools where I've no doubt Fatima will be.
Well, that was obviously the beginning of the Bells of St Trinians, and in there was Princess Fatima, who is actually here today, our first of our St Trinians girls, Lorna Henderson. Yeah. Cheers.
What do you want me to say?
Well, do you have any memories at all? That scene, for instance, your role in the film?
Well, yes. It was a funny thing because there were over 1,000 auditions for that, and I was lucky because I was playing South Pacific at the Drury Lane, and I had black hair, and I was playing a Polynesian. So they said, "Can you ride a horse?" And I said, "Yes." I couldn't. "Can you speak any languages?" I said, "Yes." I couldn't. And then they offered me the part, and I said, "Thank you very much." I didn't say how much, but I said, "Thank you very much." And that was it. That was for me. The only thing was, all the girls there were great, and they had a wonderful time. I didn't. Because I had to stay clean, tidy, couldn't play the games, couldn't get flour thrown all over me, couldn't get acid put in my tea, and I couldn't put acid in anyone's tea. But it was great fun, and I enjoyed it, and I can't believe it's still going strong. Absolutely.
Yeah, because Princess Fatima was the goody-goody.
She still is.
Now I'm going to take you to the start of the St Trinian story, and it all began with an illustrator called Ronald Searle. In 1941, he did his first ever St Trinian's drawing. Oh, there is actually Lorna there as well. Picture of you. Can we have a look at the... Yeah, this is the original St Trinian's school in Edinburgh. It's actually a different spelling. It's true, Ronald Searle's sister went there, but he met a 14-year-old girl called Cecily Johnson, and it was in the middle of the holidays, and she couldn't wait to get back to the school. And I think Ronald Searle thought to himself, well, what kind of school must this be if a girl really wants to long to get back there? So this is where the idea started, really. I think the headmistress wasn't very pleased about the whole St Trinian's franchise taking off because it didn't do very well for a school, and it closed actually. But I don't think it was all to do with Ronald Searle. But in 1942, Searle went on to the ill-fated 18th Division, and that took him on a 2-month voyage down the Malayan Peninsula to the doomed island of Singapore, where he was captured by Japanese, and so he went to a Japanese prisoner of war camp. And if you just want to go to the next picture. Now this is a picture that Searle actually did when he was in a Japanese prisoner of war camp. A lot of the drawings actually took place there. He carried on drawing all the time. He stole a fountain pen and paper from the Japanese, and I think what we can see is that obviously the darkness, the horror, the smells, all these things, of course they're going to affect an artist's work. Before the war, his work was very gentle. Obviously it isn't. This is where St Trinian's comes through. Obviously he didn't think schoolgirls are evil, but this is a way he was coping with what was going on to himself. It says here, I mean, this is a hilarious picture. Well, that's okay now for old Stink, so they're obviously going off to... so, of course, this was all seen after the war in 1946, when he came back. But what next? Yes, so 4 years later, after having returned out of the prisoner of war camp, in the war he had to build railways. He was stabbed through the back with a pickaxe, which penetrated his spine and temporarily paralysed him. And what happened when he returned? I'll read a quote here saying, "Bearing a neat folder containing 72 cartoons drawn in faded ink on stained and yellowing paper. The paper was crumpled from having been buried in the jungle and hidden under disease-ridden mattresses that the Japanese obviously didn't want to search." So this was the extraordinary start to St Trinian's. Could we have a look at the next page? A picture, thanks. Now this is the Gothic playground that the St Trinian's girls had. And this is their vast playing fields, which they can safely conduct their civil wars. There's lots going on here, which you probably won't be able to pick out, so I'll just point out some things. But they're burning the school down. Teachers are trying to escape, but they've actually put wood at the door to stop them escaping. They pitchfork people. There are heads of school children lying here. There's a ladder over there letting them escape. And there's a fat little boy here who's waiting for his beloved with a posy of flowers when she gets out. But it's wonderful, this mayhem that he's created. And of course you've got their props. They've got Bren guns, they've got bottles of booze, they've got cigars. And of course always a St Trinian's leg is always very spindly. They all are very, very thin, the legs of St Trinian's girls. It's a sort of Searle trademark in his cartoons. Such was the success of these drawings. Oh, can we have a look at the next picture as well, actually? But Miss Merriweather, you said we could bring our pets back with us, which obviously went into the next film. Such was the success of these drawings. The artist received fan mail addressed to Mr. Ronald Searle, St Trinian's, London, and they actually managed to safely arrive to him because the postman knew who he was. So why do you think the cartoons and the films were so successful? Well, British English boarding schools are a national institution, but they're very mysterious to those who are not in them, like MI5 for instance. So people are going to be intrigued by that world, and that's why people, I think, so find it so interesting. Men, of course, have a profound fear of women, so they're laughing as well at all the dreadful scandals of these girls. And women, of course, will like St Trinian's because there's always moments where women want to have a little sharp cleaver at their disposal or a little bomb, and it kind of appeals to them and how they can deal with menfolk. And of course, why do school children love it? Because someone's caring, someone's understanding, and of course the Trinian's girls are role models as well for them. Searle did get worried though. He did worry about the affiliation St Trinian's had to with him, because one day a newspaper came through his front door saying St Trinian's girls burned down school, and of course, you know, these girls just burnt their school down. They weren't necessarily reading St Trinian's, but he did worry that maybe he was having a slight influence. So this is why he stopped as well doing the cartoons. Now I'll move on to the producer, writing, directing duo who created the films, Stanley Gillet and Frank Launder. They made a huge contribution to British film over 3 decades. They were extraordinarily prolific. They worked on over 40 films together and 100 other films that they worked on individually. The films they made during the war are actually quite serious, some of them, and focus on Britain at home, the working class, women. They were more interested in telling stories about the people who built planes rather than the pilots. So while other people were making the dam busters and other war films, they were concentrating on nice comedies or whatever, which a very interesting look at the war and the time that it was. They wrote the screenplay for Hitchcock's The Ladies Vanishes in 1938, and classic comedies such as The Green Man, 1956, and they created career-defining performances from the like of Rex Harrison, Margaret Rutherford, and especially Alistair Sim. In 1950, Frank Launder made an incredibly successful comedy called The Happiest Days of My Life, which was set in a school. And it was so successful, he thought, well, I need a sequel of some description. So what better inspiration than the cartoons of Ronald Searle himself. But there was a major difference with the first film. The girls came in two categories. One, they were the fourth formers, a lot of the ladies here, and they were the girls of Ronald Searle's cartoons. They were the mischievous, ink-stained pranksters, which we so loved in the cartoons. But there was also another type of St Trinian's girl. There was now the sixth former that didn't feature in the cartoons. The sixth former was sexually experienced, let's say. They were... their lacrosse clothes exaggerated their sexuality. They were precocious to a degree that might have been slightly alarming in 1954. I mean, one of the most telling moments comes when the Spiv Flash Harry is asked if he's a teacher, and he replies, "In a way." The role of their bookie has taught them plenty about economics, etc. And the first film is also stunning because it draws on satire of progressive education and also the precarious situation faced by private boarding schools in the post-war years, one of extreme cash shortages affecting not only facilities and staff salaries but also basic necessities like food. It's no wonder Miss Britain turns to gambling to keep the school afloat. There's little else keeping it there. I would like to turn to you now.
Annabelle's got a story, actually.
Oh, right, yes, okay.
Well, yes, thank you. Regarding the school in Edinburgh, I think Ronald Searle adopted another school, and I'm afraid I've forgotten where it was. I've got the paperwork at home. But he visited this other school, and they had a bit of a nutty headmistress who used to drive around on a cycle and bicycle, and that's where he got the thing from Miss Britain. It was from this other school. And in the original film, The Bells, the background of the school is the Oakley Court Hotel in Windsor, which is an absolutely beautiful hotel. And when I found it, because I learnt of its involvement in the film, I arranged a reunion there a couple of years ago. And but that's what you see in the film is now a really beautiful, up-to-date hotel. So.
So if we go to the next slide, this is just a little tiny bit of Arnold's background now. How did Malcolm get brought in? And as you can see, he was very busy. This was in 1954. He was busy writing ballets, The Homage to the Queen, which we heard this morning if you were at this morning's concert. Ronaldo and Almeida, which we heard yesterday, another lovely ballet. He was writing music for the theatre at the time. The Tempest was a production at the Old Vic, Shakespeare, with in fact the very young Robert Hardy was in that production. And he was obviously not in the middle of his film career, but his film career started in the late 40s, and he was well into it. Two interesting films. You know what César is a rather awful comedy, actually, but it's got some lovely Arnold music. In fact, the little clarinet piece we heard this morning is from that film. And the other was a sort of war film. And this is how he came in to the St Trinian films from that particular background. So, we move on. Were you going to have a chat to him?
Yeah, I was going to just chat to Marigold. This is Marigold Russell, who played a school girl in the first film. I'm the second film as well. If you'd like to, because you knew Malcolm Arnold, and I was just wondering if you'd like to tell us about, your memories of him.
Well, my memories of him are that he knew my husband very well, and my husband was a production manager on the St Trinian's films of Frank Mulder, and he knew Malcolm Arnold very well, and we often used to get invited out to dinner, and we invited Arnold. We used to all go out and have meals, and he was always accompanied by an extremely glamorous, beautiful woman. A different one every time. And he used to say very naughty things to my husband about what he did with these ladies. And they're not anything that I could possibly repeat. And he used to like to drink a lot. So we had many an amusing luncheon and dinner with drinking, and I always remember one particular time when we came and he had this magnum bottle of most expensive red wine, and he was just pouring it out like tea in the cups and slopping it all over the table and saying, you must drink this, you must drink this. And I'm afraid there's not a tagline to this. The only tagline is the fact that we were all drinking and got rather inebriated. We sort of lurched home in taxis and things. But he liked his wine and he liked his alcohol and he liked his girls.
Thank you very much indeed. We're going to have a look at one or two more clips now. If we can move on to... There's an original poster of the original Bells, the first film. The first clip that we want to show you, Malcolm adopted a rather cartoon. We had a fantastic talk this morning by Neil Brown, who I think has stayed and is here somewhere, and went into the music in a much greater depth than we're going to be able to do this afternoon. But one of the kind of characters of Malcolm's approach to these St Trinian's films is very much of the cartoon. They're based on cartoons, and he takes a cartoon approach, as you'll see. And as Neil was saying in the more serious films he was talking about this morning, every little detail you'll see Malcolm flags up somehow in the music. Have a look at this first. There's a lot going on, but listen out for detail. Listen for the bassoon, who he writes for in a brilliantly comic sort of way. And listen for what I call the smirking motif. There's a little tune that drops by semitones, by small musical intervals, which has a kind of smirk about it, and that's one of the main St Trinian little motifs, the smirking motif. So this is our first little clip.
Speaking. They're back.
Brilliant.
The next clip shows that Neil was talking about Hobson's Choice having a very balletic sort of feel to it, and there are certain ballet aspects to St Trinian's as well. In this next bit, we introduced the head mistress, Miss Fritton, and there's this lovely Edwardian flavour to Miss Fritton, and this lovely ballet music. Something rather funny happens after she's introduced, of course.
I have given Fatima £100 pocket money. £100. Pocket.
Brilliant.
Holland, not only do I think that this is a silver lining, but I fancy it will be muffins for tea.
The little that's not the swirl of the whatever that's called. I mean, just so beautifully brought to life. I mean, it's brought to life, but Malcolm brings it to life even more. Two more little clips. And this next one, I think what we see with Malcolm's music is how he actually helps tell the story. The story is indeed unfolding on the pictures, but he helps to tell that story. He brings another depth to it. And we'll see in this particular section where you'll see what goes on, but see how he brings the story to life in a very enhanced sort of way.
Ready, John?
Yes, sir.
Right ahead.
Weight looks all right on paper, but it doesn't mean much unless we know the weight. Where did he put it? In the saddle, of course. Lumps of lead. How are we going to find that out?
Okay. What about the weight?
Leave that to Amanda. That baby's giving you the full treatment. Corn exchange then, 9 o'clock Thursday. Hurry up, Jackie, as quick as you can. I am hurrying. What did it say? Listen, Rabble. Making a dance for the wheel.
Many of those girls, of course, sitting here today. Just one little point about the way Malcolm actually set about writing this music, because he didn't have computers and all the kind of paraphernalia that film composers have today. What he would do is he would go with his secretary, a wonderful lady called Dorothy Payne, and they would go and view the film. And Dorothy would write down all the timings. She'd have a stopwatch and would write down all the timings, so that scene lasted 1 minute 15 seconds and the next scene lasted 25 seconds. And it would all be there on her page. And Malcolm would watch it, and he'd only watch it once, and the whole thing would be in his mind. And he'd go home with Dorothy's timings and compose the music. It's extraordinary, actually. I mean, he didn't have the ability to watch the film again. It was all in his mind. Sometimes he might have seen it twice, but usually he didn't see it twice.
But Paul, he did have the script.
He had the script, yes. He had the script and the timings, but not the actual images or actually how the acting was going on. That would have been his mind. Yes, thank you, Catherine. And that in itself was an extraordinary ability, given the fact that the detail that Malcolm puts in the scores, it's extraordinary detail. Today, we don't get this kind of detail, obviously, even though the opportunity for doing that kind of detail is there, because composers can watch it over and over again because they have it on their desk, fitted into their computers. Anyway, last little clip, which we've already seen today, this morning, is this wonderful introduction to the spiv. We have Flash Harry, and of course Malcolm then employs this lovely honky-tonk piano to conjure up the character. And there are so many details in this little clip. Let's see this last one.
Oh, it's not Flash Harry.
That's Annabelle, I think.
Are you ready? How to do?
to talk about that scene at all? Does anyone have any?
So I just say that they asked if I could whistle like that, and I said, I will try, bearing in mind I'm an 11, and I did try, and of course nothing happened. So they said, well, just pretend, and the props man did it for me. Those props men came in very handy, these strong men. There's one scene where I'm being pulled up the balcony on a knot of blankets off the school balcony, which was quite high. But actually, first of all, Frank Launder asked me if I could chin up, you know, hand over hand sort of thing. I'd never tried that sort of thing before, so unlike Lorna, who would say yes to anything, that she could ride a horse when she couldn't, I didn't say I could do that because honestly I was a bit scared of going up that high. So in the end, I had to hang on, and the girls are supposedly hauling me up, but there were two strong men behind the girls who were actually doing the pulling.
Fantastic.
Just a brief thing. The art mistress was played by Rennie Houston. She had a long pigtail down the back and a brush through her hair. So when the scene came, when headmistress told that Fatima had £100 pocket money, everybody was making a dive to go to Fatima. And Rennie Houston comes running through the corridor and climbs up a ladder outside the school, and that's my mother. She was the double for Rennie Houston.
Right, well, the next scene we're going to be looking at is the pillow fight scene in the dorm, which was mayhem for all the girls. I think we just improvised and just went for it, really, from what I can hear. Before we watch, do you want to say a few words, Annabelle, about your experience of that?
Well, yes, Polly and I had a few words about that on the 100 Greatest Family Films, didn't we? And I was the first one in, because I could see it was going to be an absolute bun fight. And I thought, I don't want to get hurt here, so I dived off the bed behind the camera. And then, Polly, do you want to say a couple of words about it? Because then Polly had a good go.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Yes, I was the little one that didn't know anything. I was the one that used to give the secrets away. Just like now. In the scene where we're obviously going to see, it was for me it was absolutely petrifying. I was terrified the whole movie, really, because I was so tiny. I was the tiniest one, and I was just literally petrified. Coming out, followed behind Annabelle, because she seemed to be a bigger girl to me, and so I thought, well, I'll keep behind her. But it was for me terrifying. The whole thing was terrifying.
Shall we have a look at the scene?
Yes.
Yeah, cheers.
Another big time, another turn. Oh, it's good to be back in harness again.
Yes, for some, just routine. But for us, my dear Prudence, the breath of life. Listen. Time has begun.
It was very scary to watch as well. I wasn't actually in that scene, but I was at the studio that day. I was sitting not far behind the camera, and I remember thinking, my goodness, that looks wonderful to be in, but very scary as well, and I couldn't make up my mind whether I was envious because I wasn't in it, or glad that I wasn't. It was quite something to watch from close by, I can tell you.
And there's a picture of Annabelle there, Maureen. Now I'm going to talk to you about the stars. And there, of course, in that last clip, you saw the peerless Alistair Sim, who is still one of our most memorable character actors today. A quote about his acting, it says here, of whimsical, put-upon countenance and minatory laugh. I think that's a very good description, and there he is there. He, of course, played Miss Fritten and her shady brother, Clarence Fritten, in the first film. He also appeared in the second a little bit. The wonderful thing about Miss Fritten is you and Alistair Sim, you forget that he's a man, actually, almost, because it's such a specific characterisation. It's a brilliant performance. Someone asked Lorna and Gillian why they chose Sim to play a woman, and they said actually we were satirising those poor unfortunate single unfeminine headmistresses. So that's why they cast a man. A never youthful character, Sim attained star status through portraying eccentric authority, doctors in The Doctor's Dilemma, school teachers, The Happiest Days of Your Life, Gentlemen of the Cloth, Folly to be Wise, Policemen Green for Danger, Lairds and Lords in Geordie. Where the sociologist went astray was in missing the ambivalence of which Sim was the expert, an authority figure, yes, but also shadily duplicitous, often a manipulator of official rhetoric, his sexless bachelor persona containing strains of sexual ambiguity, his jolliness, a latent vampirism. That's a good quote there as well. In the first half of Cottage to Let, 1941, he seemed convincingly to be a Nazi agent, and in The Green Man, 1956, he was a chortling assassin, and he was certainly unsettling as the spectral Paul in An Inspector Calls, 1954. And then we move on to policewoman Sergeant Ruby Gates. Go on to, yes, here she is. An overgrown schoolgirl who never grows up. That was the comedy they were aiming for here. The thing about Gates is that she's a fairly tragic figure, really. She's been a fiancée for 14 years to Superintendent Sammy Kemp Bird, and every film, it's a similar plot for her. It's very sad. He just wants to get rid of her for a little bit, so he says, oh dear, would you mind pretending to be a teacher at St Trinian's, spy on them? And she said, oh Sammy. But she does it for him because she loves him. She ends up getting manhandled by the girls a lot. In the third film, she has to hide in a little boat under a tarpaulin for a few weeks on the Greek seas. So it's quite a sad part, but beautifully done, desperately funny, and very English as well. Of course, that is Joyce Grenfell, who is a national institution, I'd say. She was actually in The Happiest Days of Your Life, the first film, the first school comedy Lorna made, where she played toothy gauche games mistress, Gossage. Sort of catchphrase was, call me sausage. And then she went on to invade over 20 other British films, creating moments of treasurable idiocy. And then, of course, she was in Genevieve, all fringe and jangling beads, as the hotel manageress, very memorably in 1953. She's best remembered for her one-woman shows and monologues, where she invented roles such as the harassed nursery school teacher, George, don't do that, which we all know about. Although her humour appeared light and frilly on the surface, it was actually had a dark undertone to it. Yes, she was gently satirising the middle classes, but I think that work actually allowed her far greater range, actually, than her films did. Her fame reached as far as the USA, where she appeared on the Ed Sutherland Show alongside Elvis Presley. I think she was living proof that you could be a sharp satirist without miraculously descending to malice, and she was an awarded an OBE in 1946. And then we go on to Flash Harry, the third of the wonderful characters in St Trinian's. Flash Harry means ostentatious, loudly dressed, and usually ill-mannered man, who may also be a spid. I think we can safely say he was a spid. He's a Cockney, long-term associate of the girls, and when he was 12, he was employed as a boot polisher by Miss Britain, and he stayed on at the school. As an adult, he's the only adult the girls really trust. He helps them make gin and distills it in the chemistry school lab, and then sells it in the black market. He runs also St Trinian's matrimonial agency, where he auctions off 18-year-old girls to very rich men. And then by the time Amber Spottiswoode becomes headmistress, he's chairman of the School of Governors. George Cole has been acting for 70 years now, and he's a true character star in the way he's miraculously survived the decades and carried on, since being a cheeky Cockney chappie in 1940s films, to awkward, shy young men in the 1950s, to Flash Harry in the 60s, and then on to Arthur Daly, of course, in The Incredible Minder in the 80s. Are we doing all right for time? Yes, he made his debut in age 14 in the chorus of White Horse Inn, 1939, then in Cottage to Let, 1940, in which the star was Alistair Sim, who really took Cole under his wing and actually adopted him. They were both cast in the film version of Cottage by Anthony Asquith, where Cole was the resourceful evacuee who helps unmask an unlikely spy. Then very touchingly, he was the boy in Laurence Olivier's Henry V in 1944, incredible film. Then he played the younger Scrooge to Alistair Sim's older Scrooge in 1951, and they acted in 8 more films. They wonderfully complement each other, their comic styles. Sim is all restrained outrage, and Cole grotesque fibbery, and they work really well. I just thought I'd do one little word on Richard Wattis as well, who was in 3 of the St Trinian's films, playing Manton Bassett, who was a civil servant in the Ministry of Education, and he was the straight man of St Trinian's. His job was to react with horror to all the unfolding melodrama that was going on around him, and he did it very well. Well, now I'd like to open up to comments from the cast, really, about their memories of the stars of St Trinian's, really. I mean, I know, yes, we can talk to Liz, who actually knew Joyce and Alistair quite well. There you are. Cheers.
Right, thank you very much. I'll stand if I may.
Can I just introduce you, actually?
I'm Liz Fraser.
Yeah.
Actually, it's very frustrating knowing these people and hearing about them when I'm the privileged one to have really known them quite well. As far as Alistair Sim was concerned, obviously I met him during this film, but I was in a stage play with Alistair and with George Cole, and it was called Too True to Be Good at the Garrick. And I admired him more than anybody else that I've ever met in my profession for comedy. I would find that if an artist was speaking over there and you were supposed to be watching them, I would be watching Alistair Sim over there, watching them, because he was so absolutely brilliant. I mean, it was a privilege to have worked with, and I feel very proud that I did work with him. Also, with George, who was in that play, and I did several The Minders, or Minder, I think it was just called. And Joyce Grenfell and I don't know whether you know that, but she and I went to Hollywood together in a film called The Americanization of Emily. And with Julie Andrews and myself, we were a little trio of very British women. And another one, who won't be mentioned, one of the girls was sort of, as you may say, having affairs with some of the other cast, which was James Garner and Jimmy Coburn and people like that. And we 3 got together, particularly with Joyce, who was outraged at the behaviour of one of the British. And we had a little conflab, and then that was finished. But it's so wonderful that the disconcerting thing for me is that I was an adult and all of these were children. And they've all passed me, and I thought, my God, you know. So I'm still here, unfortunately, but with wonderful memories, particularly of those 3 that I just said. Thank you.
We've got going on to the next film now, actually, I think. Oh no, we've got one more scene from that film. Oh, it's the famous scene. Yes. Let's have a look at this.
This really shows Joyce Grenfell's amazing comic talent in true force. Yeah. Okay.
With you girls, it's more like jungle warfare. Lucretia, hold this thing taut at the back. Girls! Amanda! Come back! We never saw such girls. Come back this minute! Come back! Amanda! Girls! 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 Where are you? Girls!
Hello, darling. Hello, who's this?
It's creepy, are you games, mistress?
Well, come on in, sports. Make yourself at home. Give her a drink, Bubbles, dear.
Angela, would you care to tell me what's going on here? Lunch! Poulet à la culbufera, aubergine à la vauclusienne avec pain fromage. Voilà! I've never seen anything so disgusting in my life. A girls' school, too. I shall go and tell Miss Fritten at once.
Those, of course, are the school governors that have been entertained for the rest. They never returned to the Ministry of Education since. Yes, we go on to the next scene, which is the rack scene, which we have the lady who was tortured in the rack scene here. Yeah. Shall we see the film and then see the clip and then torture you? Yeah, brilliant. Thank you.
Put us down, Woody. Bellow's her gang are going to steal our boy. They've gone out to the riding school. The stable boy's helping them. We can't let them get away with this. If our boy doesn't run, we'll lose our money.
Hurry up. On the road. Don't miss me any minute.
Right. Jill, you were tortured there.
Yes, I was tortured there. My torturer turning the handle. Bell behind me. We are good friends now, I would like to say. A number of people have asked me if it really did hurt me. Well, not in the way that it's supposed to. In other words, I wasn't actually being stretched, but there were very thick ropes tied around my wrists and ankles, and I think get some rope burn around my wrist, so it was a bit uncomfortable. But I didn't get the same effect on my ankles because I had those lovely dark woolen stockings and long knickers, which you can see in the photograph that came right down here. I wasn't one of the glam girls by any means. Yes, I was a rather nasty sneak who would spy on the fourth formers and then tell the sixth formers what they were up to, and vice versa, and I'm usually found listening at keyholes, eavesdropping here or there. But in the end, I did help the fourth formers to win the day by taking the message to the headmistress. I think one of the things I was most frightened about doing that scene was screaming, because if you're asked just to scream, and I'd never done anything like that before, it was my first professional part, and I was really worried that I might open my mouth and nothing would come out, but it was fine.
Thank you very much. Well, just a quick bit of background now as we move on to the next film. This is what Sir Malcolm was up to around this period, leading up to the second St Trinian's films, which was Blue Murder at St Trinian's. And he had a lot of fun actually during this period. He was writing for the Hoffman festivals, which of course included the great Grand Overture. He did Tam O'Shanter, which got him the most extraordinary ovation at the proms. It lasted about 5 minutes, and the announcer didn't know what to say. It was there is a recording of the announcer after the performance, and he'd never seen anything like it ever before at a prom. The Open Window was a lovely short opera based on a Saki story, and some other works, including some major films at this time. River on the River Kwai came at the end of this period. And so on to Blue Murder.
Blue Murder at St Trinian's. I think we've got a poster there.
Oh yes, there's
fantastic. There it is. This was in 1957. This was made. The first half is actually quite serious, and then the second half is very, very farcical. As the film opens, Miss Fritten has been arrested. The staff have all left the building, and now the army are controlling the girls, but not doing it very well. Harry is also continuing his marriage bureau work, and he goes to Rome to meet Prince Bruno, and Prince Bruno wants a wife, so he says, we'll send a few girls over, so they go to Rome at the end of the film, which is exciting. There were two wonderful British actors as well that starred in this film. Terry Thomas as the seedy Captain Romilly Ricketts, who drives the school coach all the way to Rome. And he, of course, is the man that Ruby Gates should have gone off with, but she says no, very sadly. And Lionel Jeffries, who plays Joseph Mangan, the wanted diamond theft criminal, who disguises himself as St Trinian's headmistress, Miss Maud Hackshaw. We got a lovely letter from Lionel Jeffries' agent, actually. He wanted to come but was ill, and he's now actually died. So that's very sad. But yes, it was nice to know that he knew about the event. Sabrina was also in the film. She was a leading model, and she got very high billing in the film. I think she's there on the poster. Yeah, there she is on the poster. And she didn't actually get anything to say. All she had to do was sit in the bed and read Dostoevsky. Her role was the school SWAT, and what it entailed was just reading. She was the only schoolgirl who went to bed on time, and she'd sit there looking demure and wonderful in bed. Well, Lionel Jeffries would walk past her and it was very,
I think we've got this now.
Well, yeah, we've got it, I think.
So
you can see that.
Sorry, Alistair Sims dropped down the credits quite a lot. Is there any particular reason for that?
He only has a very small part in this film.
Yeah, right at the beginning and right at the end, he gets set free out of jail. Yeah. And
Should we see that? I think the very clip that Alex has been talking about comes next.
Yeah.
Everything under control, Mackay?
Yes, sir. I've posted men all around the building.
Good. Then we'll search the ground floor and cellars first, and then move upwards. You take the west wing, Mackay, and I'll cover the east. Oh, and remember, take care to move only in pairs.
Who's that?
Oh, don't worry about her. That's Virginia, the school SWAT.
You're out there in strength, all right? You must know something. What the devil am I going to do?
And again, Malcolm's detail there. And the next clip that we're going to show is one of my favourite. There is so much that goes on in this. We hear a bit of the St Trinian's tune, which is, Neil told us this morning, was based on a Methodist hymn. This was rather poking fun, of course, Malcolm poking fun at his father and the very high Methodist background that he was put through. Lots goes on in this little clip. There's a rather highly irreverent feel about the way he portrays the policeman in this. And I wonder, do we have, what part did you play in this film? Were you in this one?
I don't recall the title.
I think you
got
were.
voiceover roles. Yeah.
I think you may have been in this one. Perhaps you might recall in this next scene. Anyway, let's see this next scene. It's a very long music cue as well, actually. It goes on for ages.
We've got one in the stable. It's a little bit risky, but we all have to organise, and no one in a
There's so much going on there, there's so much detail. And that's about 3 1/4 music cue, but that's quite a lot of music, just continuously and at such detail. There's a lovely picture we got next, yes, there it is, which I hope you can see. That's Malcolm himself actually training the girls to sing the St Trinian song. Very nice to have that picture with us. Alex, are you going to see whether anyone has any?
Tell what happened between 1957 or 6 or do you want
no, we can. I just wonder whether anyone here has got any memories of that.
Yeah,
particular.
Terry, you were a schoolgirl, Marigold, you were a schoolgirl in that film.
I remember screaming a lot.
You remember screaming a lot. Yeah, Terry was actually one half of a twin as well. They were identical, weren't you, almost?
Yes, we still are. Yeah, I remember my particular memory of being a St Trinian was having to plait our hair into lots of little plaits and sticking them through holes in the straw hats. And I remember for days afterwards we were still trying to unpick the plaits.
Well, that's we've got, I think, the sequence that actually takes the girls to Rome towards the end of this film, which we'll have a look at. Now, this is Malcolm almost taking a bit of Tchaikovsky Capriccio Italienne style of music here. All sorts of interesting things are happening.
All right, put it in one. late, 20 to 1.
I remember that clearly.
Ah.
Coming out of the, where the lions were out, with the lacrosse bit. I remember that. So, thinking childhood repression in the 50s, not the case. Just coming out with that lacrosse strip thing, screaming. I remember it clearly, and I was 5.
I wonder whether we can just skip the next one. Can we do that? And then just we'll go on to the next, which is just here we are. Going on to the next film, which was Pure Hell at St Trinian's. And again, very busy Malcolm Arnold at the time, particularly in the late 50s. He was doing enormous number of films, as you can see there. Inner Six Happiness, we heard some this morning, and all those various other important works at the time. And we've got two clips now, which feature one of our guests this afternoon. There it is. Let's have a look at these two clips.
This is in the third film, Pure Hell of St Trinian's. Yeah.
Yours, etc. Just read that last sentence back, will you, Partridge?
In my view, for the police to take such action would be... I'm sorry, I can't quite read my outline.
Let me see it. I used to do shorthand. Where is it?
There. It's just a curve and a wiggle.
Sergeant Gates, how many more times am I to tell you about bursting into my office without knocking?
I've got something terribly important to tell you. Could I see you alone, please?
Oh, very well. That'll be all for now, Partridge.
Oh, Superintendent, it was improper.
What was improper?
She's my new secretary, policewoman Partridge.
What were you doing looking over her shoulder?
I was just trying to follow her outline.
We have the next one as well.
Here we are, it says. Registered at Bahrain.
Owned by Nicola and Armand Popopoulos.
I don't know the sound of it.
Perhaps I pronounced it wrongly.
Your name?
You lean on my hand. Is that for me?
Yes. That'll be all for now, Partridge.
What were you doing on the floor?
I was just looking at the plans of the St Trinian yacht. The chief constable wants me to follow it up.
How, in a rowboat?
It's not a matter for joking, Ruby. The only way is to smuggle a certain clever and resourceful person on board.
That, of course, was Liz Fraser playing Constable, policewoman Constable Susan Partridge there, who's here today. Liz has starred in 4 carry-on films, I Am All Right Jack, a classic film, quite a few episodes of Hancock Half Hour. She played Mrs. Pike in the film version of Dad's Army, in Last Summer Wine, the Joan Hickson Miss Marple, Foyle's War, and lots of other credits as well. Do you have anything else to say about your experience on the first film, Liz, at all?
I think you mentioned... Right, thank you, Liz. I don't remember this one, actually. It was a complete surprise. I don't think I've seen that. I made 53 films in all, and they were going one after another and after another. And Lorna and Gillian, I then was in several of their films, including Two-Way Stretch, which was with Lionel Jeffries. And it was just wonderful, that period of time in British films, mainly the black and whites, to have been with all these people. Unfortunately, I'm still here. I have a very good friend, which is June Whitfield, who's now 84, and she seems to have cornered the market at the moment. And we sit and play Scrabble, and I win, and she gets a phone call giving her another job. So never let her win, ever. But no, it was just a good career. I haven't retired, mentally anyway.
Good for you.
Thank you for inviting us, all of us, here today.
If we could just skip over the next one again, and then just give you a little bit of introduction to the last of the St Trinian films, or at least the last of the St Trinian films until the little remake that has happened recently, which I think Annabelle may have a closing word later. Again, the early 60s, and Malcolm was hugely busy again, and this of course is only just a small amount of the work that he was doing at the time. So a tremendous number of films, including some of his really greats at this time. No Love for Johnny and Whistle Down the Wind, and a number of other Haley Mills films that some of us were enjoying her company yesterday. The last film was rather different actually, for many reasons. One is that it was the first of Trinian's film made in colour, and he changes the music. And I wonder whether Alex has got anything else to say about this, or we can actually see the opening.
We can see the introduction first, yeah.
Just before dawn, 2:22, the western mail hammering through. Green light blinks, turns to red, shut off the steam and brake, brake, brake. Shut off the steam, the 5%. Listen, with the brakes, chink, cockle, clank, with the couplings, telling the tale of how the great train robbers robbed the mail. 21 robbers at 2:22, never so much bitch, five so few, with all the coppers tucked up in bed, blow up the doors and rap, rap, rap. Blow up the doors and gentlemen fret. With the pistons, when the brakes, chink, cockle, clank, when the couplings and crack, with the blackjack of the driver's head, telling the tale of how the great train robbers robbed the mail. 21 robbers at 3:32 got clean away, left no clue. Hit the trail for the old dark house, over the wall, and make for the hole. Make for the hole, save, left the louse. When the pistons shoot, when the brakes chink, cockle, clank, when the couplings crack, when the blackjack and whoop, when the jelly, telling the tale of how the great train robbers robbed the mail. Them white boys all been nary a fool, but none of them ran with St Trinian school.
That, of course, was based on the Great Train Robbery itself in 1963 that happened 3 years earlier. The film also cleverly parodies the technocratic ideas of Harold Wilson and his government, and its support of the comprehensive school, and they were trying to close down, well, they didn't really, but they would have liked to have closed down more private schools. And there's the whole government in there is thinking of ways how to get rid of St Trinians. And there's of course a new headmistress, Amber Spottiswoode, played by Dora Bryan, with a voice like treacle. It's incredible. Shall we go on to
Can I just
the
say
next?
that Dora is still alive, and
Yeah.
she's been very ill actually, and she's in a hospital in Brighton. I've tried to contact her, but without success. So I think it's a touch of Alzheimer's. But it's very sad, isn't it?
Yeah,
we always said we'd share a room together, but I've declined that one.
I wanted to show you this particular short clip from the film, which again is Malcolm having a lot of fun and being a real virtuoso. It's what's happened here is that St Trinian's is about to be reformed, and they are getting together a new set of, or getting together the old set of teachers again. And so we just see a little scene about each one, and each one is beautifully brought to life by Malcolm's music, slightly saucy. We'll see it now. A set of variations on St Trinian's theme here. Clearly Malcolm enjoyed that particular scene. Well, we only have really one more to see now, which is the final scene of the final St Trinian's films. Perhaps, Annabelle, do you want to say a word about the new series, because you were actually involved, weren't you?
Right, yes.
Were a number of you involved?
Yes.
Yeah. Let me give you a.
Thank you. Yes. Got it round this way. Yes. A few of us, last year, were invited to do a scene at Liverpool Street Station where there was about 300 or 400 new St Trinian's kids, and we did this dance scene, which was a take on the Orange O2 advert. If any of you've seen it, and I've been to both premieres of the two new movies, and I was introduced to a number of the stars afterwards at the after picture party, and they were absolutely, can I say, gobsmacked at somebody still being alive from the original. Not that old, but you know, people do tend to think that everybody's gone. And I had a wonderful time, and from that I organised a reunion, because none of us had seen each other for over 50 years, and I managed to get us all together in this Windsor hotel at Windsor. And then last year we did this scene, and I've got a comment from Oliver Parker and Barnaby Thompson, who are the producers and directors of the film, as I told them about this weekend, and they've just said, we are huge fans of the originals and of their celebration of anarchy. They really capture the spirit of those brilliant cartoons with their spiky Britishness and dangerous sense of fun, and they are a great inspiration to us as we seek out a new regime of renegades. So they wished us, good luck for this weekend. And although they're, jolly good fun, but there is nothing like the original. And the only one for me is the first one, as it always will be.
Yeah. Before we draw things to a conclusion, does anyone else have any stories or comments or thoughts you might like to? Yes, excellent. Go on.
Just one thought.
If you just finish, remind us who you are.
I'm Olive Astley, as I was then. But you reminded us of the previous film, Best Days of Your Life, Happiest Days of Your Life. Maureen and I from Corona School were both in that. So, Liz, we're catching you up, dear. And it's also nice that another Corona girl here I haven't seen since we left school, 14, 15 years of age, so it's a nice reunion today. Thank you very much.
Another comment from Lorna.
Yeah. Can I just say that although the latest St Trinians, there will never be comedy like those of Joyce Grenfell, George Cole, and Sims, and this lady here, who is living proof. You don't have to open your mouth and be vile to get a laugh.
Well, we do have one more clip. Actually, it's not the next one, it's the one after, so we're going to just jump over that, which is actually the final scene of the final St Trinian's, original St Trinian films. But before we have a look at that, it just remains for me to say thank you to everyone that's come from the original films. It's been fantastic having you together, and there's been a real energy getting you all together. It's the the sum of the parts. It's having you all here. I'm certainly more. But it's been fantastic having you, and so many of you have made a real effort and come a long way to be with us and make this an extremely special and historic and very memorable occasion. And I think we've got someone who's going to take some nice photos of you as a group. I think we can sign down the thing, which would be great. And thank you all everyone very much indeed for coming and supporting the event. I hope you're going to stay. In half an hour we've got a wonderful concert of slightly more serious music. And then our final concert of the afternoon, we've got some songs by Malcolm from his Parasol musical and from his incidental music he wrote for Sean O'Case's play The Purple Dust. So 2 really excellent events still to go. But for now, thank you so much. A big round of applause for Let's play ourselves out with a final scene. Which features the new headmistress.
Heavens, honey boy, the police!
Police?
Amber, darling! Oh, my sweetest!
Are you in there?
Mad grenadier, for you always. This terrible dust.
Yeah.